Right. Hey guys, how are y'all doing? I am excited for tonight's topic. So, hi Ferris. Hello. Hey Ave. Hey hey Fee, how are you guys doing? I love the type faster. Hurry up. Type faster. Can I threaten you? That really does crack me up. Like every time he contacts me, I'm just like, honestly, what do you expect to happen from this? You don't know who I am. I don't know who you are. There's just no point. There's no point to it, which makes it pretty freaking funny. I am so excited for today's topic, and we're going to pretty much jump right into it because we're going to talk about social connections. And I actually, oh my God, I have like such, okay, total ADD moment, but damn, I need some lotion. Oh, wait, I have lotion bars. Wait! Yes, lotion bars. They're the ones that my sister made for me. I've got like I know you're not gonna be able to see it, but I've got like really dry skin right here and it's super obnoxious. And I put on some lotion last night, but I didn't put any on today. So yay, lotion bars. These are one of my favorite things that you made. I like the chapstick. The chapstick was good. But the lotion bars are awesome. And it's funny, every now and then Hubs will be sitting over in his chair and he'll go, "Hey, throw me those lotion bars." Once my hands were so dry at night that it woke me up and I had to put on lotion before I went back to sleep. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Yeah, this is like it's almost and it's just on this one part of my hand. I don't know what's going on. It's weird. Does your beard wake you up? My beard wakes me up. No. They do smell like mint Nope. Mm-mm. They do smell like menthol. It doesn't smell like menthol. Come on, Captioner, get it together. Mint chocolate chip ice cream. Mmm. They do. They smell really good. And we've still got like 3 left. It's hard to see into there, but we've still got quite a few left. Um, I hope y'all are all having a wonderful start off to your week. It is Monday. Mondays suck, but we're gonna make it a little better by talking about social connections. My new favorite word, chalocochoc. That's awesome. Gonna be in and out for this one. Stream keeps buffering. Oh, bummer, Have. That's no worries. No worries. I hope you get it fixed. I don't know what's going on. Is it buffering for anybody else, or is it just Have? Because maybe I need a restart or something. I don't have any dropped frames or anything on my end. Everything looks okay. But if it's happening for somebody else, okay. Can I stream Mama streaming and get followers that way? You're great. So I mentioned this last time, but um, I've been using a board. Hey Joe, how are you doing? Been using a board to keep track of issues that I want to talk about for Mental Health Mondays. And the one for today is social connections. I actually got a couple people, couple people's input, and they brought up some things that I definitely wanted to cover as well. But the main thing that I just want to talk about, and I do have sources that if anybody's interested, I can, I can, I don't know, post the sources on Twitter or Discord or probably Discord would be easier because it's too long of a list. Um, tell Tiny Human I said goodnight. Love her. Tuck me in. So I want to start off reading just a couple of quotes, and then I have an infographic that I'll bring up as well. But I do have some statistics this time, and just kind of everything. I did quite a bit of research on this because I feel like some people don't understand the importance of having social connections, and some people really mistake what social connections actually are, and what they're not. So I want to talk about that a little bit. But the first one is by a professor at the University of Houston in the Graduate College of Social Work who specializes in social connection. And during an interview, she said, A deep sense of love and belonging is an irresistible need of all people. We are biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to love, to be loved, and to belong. When those needs are not met, we don't function as we were meant to be, as we were meant to. We break, we fall apart, we numb, we ache, we hurt others, we get sick. And so there are several studies showing that that's not just like a mental kind of feeling of not feeling great, that it's actually tied to immunity itself. Um, and let me see if I can find that statistic over here. But I have, there's one study, hang on, I'll find it. There is one study, back front. Okay, well I don't have it pulled out, I guess, but there is a study showing that the the portions of your brain that operate your social connections and that reap the benefits of those social connections also operate and run your immunity centers. And so, and your kind of just everything that makes you get a little bit better. I'm looking at this to see if I can find the dang thing. Here it is. Social. All right. So, research done. Hey, Rocker. How are you doing? Sometimes I wish I'd never been born at all. Okay, you're not. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Welcome. Can I get a shout out for Rocker, please? Um, and a shout out for Joe as well, and a shout out for Varys too. I all the shout outs that I need. Oh, good times. Fiona. Y'all are too funny. Um, Okay, so there's some research done by a guy named Steve Cole that shows that genes impacted by social connection are also the same genes that code for immune function and inflammation. So not only do you need to eat right, you need to eat healthy, you need to exercise, but you actually legitimately need social connections. So um, one of the things that I had somebody bring up to me was that, and I had a comment on this already, but a lot of people really discount that online connections can be connections as well. And so it's not just, I have a bestie that I go and have lunch with, and I need to have lunch with her pretty soon again because it's been several months. Um, but it's not just going and meeting somebody in person and having lunch with them and talking or, calling them up or seeing them at work or anything like that. It could be somebody online. It could be you guys. It could be somebody in your RuneScape clan or your Destiny clan. It could be somebody on Discord. It could be anything that you feel connected to. And the key there is that you feel connected to it. So if you feel like RuneBay, yeah. So if you feel like it is a social connection and if you feel like it is legitimately helpful to you, that is the part that it's that sense of social connection. So there's some research, psychologists all over in many different studies have repeatedly stressed that it's the sense of social connection, not just the actual connection in various ways that it can be defined, but it is a that sense of love and belonging that Professor Brown was talking about. And so the other part of that is that meeting people, making friends, especially if you have anxiety or depression or another mental illness, or if you're just an introvert, can seem really, really daunting and overwhelming. And a lot of people will go into psychological counseling or to a therapist or something, and in the end, they find out that they're just lonely, and they might have 1,000 friends on Facebook. They might have 1,000, followers on Twitch. They might have, hell, Ninja could be lonely. Okay. It has nothing to do with how many people you are connected to in some way, shape, or form. It's how many of those do you feel connected to in a psychological manner. So for me, like, I don't, it's hard. All right. So I was going to use my sister as an example, but that's really difficult because she's family. So I'll take her out of it. Love you, sis. But let's take just you guys that I met through RuneScape. So Have and Various and Fiona. I feel a sense of connection to you guys, and it's not that we can see each other all the time, or it's not even that we talk every day. It's not, we don't hear each other's voice every day. It's just that I know I can go into Discord and send one of you guys a message and have an interaction with you, or I see something and I'm like, oh, I really want to share this with the guys because I know that they're gonna. I say guys about everyone. Don't jump my shit for saying guys about everyone. I know you're not guys. It's just how I do, okay? But if I say something that I want to share with y'all, I know that I can do that. Jengar. Jengar. I'm just saying. I say guys. Guys is a general term. I don't necessarily mean men. Putting that out there. Uh, so it's that connection that's internal. It's not an external thing that other people might see or understand. Gengar might be a Pokemon, honestly. So if you're shy and you find it hard to meet people in real life, that's still okay. That's you can still find that connection somewhere else. And it has nothing to do with the community groups that you belong to, or like I said, the Facebook friends that you have. That's completely separate from feeling a social connection to some people. And that feeling of connection is critically important to our health. Just like you can feel lonely in a crowd, or you can go into a room of people that you work with and feel like, God, I'm so alone right now. That's totally normal because you're not connected to those people. Now, if I go into a room of people, and this is also why we tend to, when we go into rooms of people who maybe we know some of them, but we know one person pretty well and we've connected with them on a level more than just being an acquaintance, that we want to go and be with them because it is harder to create those new connections than it is to just go ahead and kind of, you know, make a new one, because then you have to find things that you've got in common. It's another reason that having online connections in clans, discords, communities, streams, etc., is it's another reason that is an easy way for people who maybe aren't comfortable doing that in person to do, because you already know you have something in common with them. You're already playing the same game. You're already in the same place that you had to choose to join. So you might not have chosen to go to a business conference, but you chose to go into that Discord server. And so online friends are totally friends. Now, if you want to do something in person and you just can't figure out where to start, you can always take a class. You could join a club. You could take, I did, I did, uh, Trust Joe with VIP status. Oh, Lord. Let's not get toxic. Come on. Meetup is a good resource too. I have not used that one, but I joined Toastmasters, met a lot of really cool people that way. Um, and while I haven't met any of them outside of that setting, I do communicate with them outside of the Toastmasters meetings. So it's one of those things. If you want to do it in person, that's fine. If you don't want to do it in person, that's also fine and totally not required. Join a cult. Why not? Don't join a cult. Don't join a cult. Don't join a cult. Don't start a cult. Ooh, can I start a cult? I want to start a cult. So, I've already said that studies show that a lack of social connection is a very large detriment to your physical health. But it has actually been proven to be a larger detriment to your health than obesity, than smoking, and then high blood pressure. So what's the other side of that? Kind of what benefits are there? So if you have those strong social connections and you maintain them, you you get a 50% increased chance of longevity, whatever that means. This study was a little floofy, but that's okay. It strengthens your immune system, like we talked about already, helps you recover from disease faster, likely because of the immune system. And people who feel more connected to others actually have lower levels of anxiety and depression. And so those lower levels of, yeah, exactly, Ave. Um, those lower levels of anxiety and depression can then increase your self-esteem gradually. They can improve your empathy towards others. Get down. Get down. Get down. Get down. Oh, stupid cat. She's up on a shelf that she's gonna knock something over. Oh, I get a lot of anxiety meeting people in person because what if I don't like them and how do I tell them that I don't want to talk to them anymore? Because I actually don't like them, especially people I've been talking to before. Yeah, I mean that is true. That is very true. Like just meeting somebody that you met online, is that what you're talking about? Opinion for trans? You do you? What do you mean opinion for trans? What the hell does that mean? I'm not sure what you're asking, and I hope you are not being disrespectful. I'll just put it that way. Yeah, so meeting somebody that you met online, um, and that stress of, okay, well, if I don't get along with them, then how do I tell them that I don't want to talk anymore? And then you just wind up like ghosting them kind of thing, which is not good, because that adds to your stress level. Hey, Yancy, how are you doing? So, like I was saying, that can lead to you improving your empathy, which is a very important thing. It makes you more trusting and cooperative of other people, which, as we all know, can come back and bite you in the ass, but that's a whole other issue. And then it makes others more open and trusting and willing to cooperate with you. So, that social connectedness generates a really positive feedback of social, emotional, and physical well being, all three. Okay, let me switch over to this infographic. Hang on, because it's fabulous. Let's see if I can make it pop up on the screen. That's not the one. That's the one. Let me get those out of here. I'll cheat the system. There we go. Fee ghosted Nate. Oh, Lord. I used to ghost people so often because of that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that shout out. I appreciate it. Okay, so this infographic I thought was pretty neat, and I'm a big visual person, so sometimes you can have somebody talk at you and then it just doesn't register until you see something. So this is kind of that subjective experience of feeling close to and a sense of belongingness with others is what social connection actually is. And all of these kind of cover those things that we've already talked about, that 50% increased chance of longevity, the immunity that research from UCLA, the lower rates of anxiety and depression, and those come directly from that sense of social connection, which is entirely subjective. So if you I don't want you to get stressed out about, well, what if I'm not connected to someone and I think that I am? Like it doesn't matter whether they feel like they're connected to you or not. If you feel like you're connected to them, baby, you are. So you get the higher self-esteem and empathy, the bigger emotional regulation skills, which a lot of people need, and then that positive feedback loop. We talked about the not having it, and so all of these are some of those things that we talked about. And then, oh, this was interesting. So this little piece of the graphic, there is one study that shows that 70% of Americans are lonely, and at least 50% of Americans don't know their neighbor's name. So while it's all well and good to have your friends online, like you should probably go ahead and at least meet your neighbors. that's that's one of those things that I would say is a best practice because that way, when your dog gets out, they can contact you. Oh, and those kinds of things. So I thought that this was interesting. So, and this is actually on the rise because, all right, let me see if I can find the. All right. There's a sociological study that showed the modal number of close others, or the people that you feel comfortable sharing a problem with. Americans claim to have in 1985 was 3. So every person on average, not every person, on average, people felt like they had 3 people that if they had a problem, they could call up, they could go see, they could, well, 85, so whatever. Whatever they did in 1985, send a carrier pigeon. No, I'm just kidding. Um, if they had a personal problem. And today, in 2004, 25% of Americans say they have no one. 0 people that if they have a personal problem that they can talk to. And so that just leads to, okay, I don't have a connection that I can share my issue with. All right, so I'm just going to keep it inside myself and let it fester. Okay, well, now it's festering and now I can't talk to anybody about the fact that it's festering, and like you just get that lower and lower and lower kind of sinking feeling, where if you can talk to somebody about it, at least you're getting it out. And even if that someone is a therapist or a psychologist or something like that, at least you're getting it out. You're getting it out. You can process it a little better, and you're not internalizing, because whenever you internalize something, it just becomes this bigger and bigger issue. Um, okay, so increasing your social connections. So if you're an introvert, which uh, I know some of you are introverts, which is totally fine, or you consider yourself a loner, or you have no friends, it doesn't matter. This is what I was talking about. It does not matter. If you feel like you are connected to somebody, then you are. Absolutely, absolutely are. 97% introvert. See, Varys, that's not true because I'm here. I'm your friend. Come on. What if I go introduce myself and then I hate my neighbor? How do you ghost someone in real life when you live next to them? I only talk to my neighbor. Well, that's not true. All right, so I talk to my neighbors every now and then, but I only talk to them whenever I need something, or they notice something, or they're going out of town and they let me know, those kinds of things. Now on Halloween, because that's the biggest holiday for me. On Halloween, I do take a bottle of wine over to my next door neighbor's house, and we drink it while also scaring small children. That sounds really bad. Uh, my neighbor deals drugs. I'd rather not get to know them. You never know. I mean, Moonkip, thank you so much for that raid. I appreciate it. How are you doing? Can I get a shout out for Moonkip? I hope you're doing well and having a wonderful stream. We are talking about mental health today and social connections. Overwatch. How is Overwatch going? For those who are here with you, I am MommaFoxFire. I'm a variety streamer. On Mondays, I've just started doing a mental health Monday discussion. So that's that's what we're doing today. And you came in right as I was saying stuff about drinking wine and scaring children. So you're here in great time. But later on, we'll probably be playing some Ark. So stick around if this isn't your jam, or if it is, feel free to participate in the conversation as well. Um, Cops. All right, I'm trying to catch up on chat. So I don't know most of my neighbors' names. The one I do know is because they're shouting at each other. Ooh, yeah, that's difficult. You like the carrier pigeon, Ferris, right? Right. See, introverts. Yes, absolutely. Neighbor anxiety. That's too fun. Too funny. Baited mama for love and it worked. I mean, come on, everybody's gotta be loved. Everybody needs love. It's true. I can do this without anybody. It's my special talent. Oh Lord. When mama needs a cup of sugar, neighbors are at help. All right, so fun story, little story. All right, I'll try to keep the story short. So I was living in another city, another house. Obviously, if I was living in another city, didn't like pick up my house and moving here with me, did I? Oh my God. Okay. Jeez. So I went to my neighbors and I knocked on their door, and this was a neighbor that I didn't necessarily get along with, but I did not get along with them. They were just kind of there. You just have those neighbors that are kind of there. I've got a neighbor across the street who's just kind of there. This neighbor is great. That neighbor is shit. That neighbor over there is just there. And so I knocked on his door and I said, hey, I need a couple eggs or something like that. And hang on a second. You can turn it on. Okay, there we go. Uh, Welcome, welcome to the family, Ricky the Hobo Prophet. I love your name, and I would love to know more about your name. I don't know what just happened, but I like it already. So I said, hey, I don't remember what it was. Eggs, something. I was probably making a cake. And so I asked him and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, you can I'll help you out, but first can you come in and help me fix this toilet?" I was like, "What?" So, fair warning that if you go and ask your neighbors for a cup of sugar, you could still wind up helping them fix the toilet. Granted, this was an elderly neighbor and he really did need the help, and it was just it was a tiny fix, no big deal. I did help him fix it. I got what I needed and I left very quickly. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Scaring small children while drinking wine sounds like a great bonding activity. It is. Absolutely. Okay. So back to the point. We're going to come back. We're going to come back around. It's like a rotating little, moon, whatever. So, oh, moon. Moon kip. Haha. Very funny. So as long as you feel like you're connected to others, then you are. That's the whole thing about social connection is that if you feel that you are connected, then you are, and you don't need to think anything beyond that. They had this example on there of children who run up and just start playing with kids that they don't know. And my 5-year-old, who was just asking me if he could turn on his fan, uh, totally does that. I asked him earlier today. I said, "Who are your best friends?" He named off 5 or 6 kids. I'm like, "What?" I said, "Who's your best friend?" I also asked him how old I am, and he said super old. So there's that. So you can nurture and build this sense of connection, which we haven't really talked about yet. So a couple of ways to do that is this: give, share, support, do acts of service or kindness for others. Because when you do those, when you do these acts of service and kindness for others, you need to do those with compassion, and you need to do those without the expectation of getting anything in return. Because if you're expecting to get something in return, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Um, so if you now, what it does do is if you have helped someone else and then they ask for your help, and actually this ties to my story that I was just talking about, but whatever. Uh, so if you ask for help, then whenever if you've helped them, then they're more likely to help you out. Uh, I dig it. Oh, thank you. I'm glad. Definitely into the theme. Quality's too high for me to follow. Oh, you can lower the quality. So down on there's a little gear. There's a little gear that you can click on and you can change what quality. So you might have it set to output, and you can change that quality down to where it's not too far behind. I had at least assumed you'd hope to gain respect, if anything, in return. No, 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 no. So when you do an act of service, you do an act of kindness, you do something like that, you need to do that with a completely blank set of expectations. You don't expect anything from anybody in return because I'll give you a good example. We do the Cowboy Santa, where all they need is volunteers to go to this workshop. It's like a big warehouse, and they've got aisles separated out generally by age, and you get a list. And on that list is a family's name, and you get their names, you get their you get their ages, and you get if they have any dislikes, you get dislikes, and you go shopping for them in this warehouse. And all you're doing is you're taking a shopping cart. You're saying, okay, I have four, this person has 4 kids. Their ages 5, 7, 9, and 10. And one of them hates Barbie. One of them hates board games. So we're going to figure all this out and get them what they need. And so you take that over, and the people working there are usually pretty surly. They're just like, did you do it all? Okay, great. And so you go in there and you don't get to meet the family. You don't get to do anything like that. It's just you go in, you do the stuff that you need done, and then you leave essentially after you've done however many you want to do. Um, and so whenever you do that, when you walk out of that building, you don't walk out thinking, "Oh, I really didn't get anything from that." Like those people were surly. Those people were, I don't even get to meet the people that I'm helping. What you want to walk out with is I helped somebody today. Like, you got to look at it from, I didn't get anything from other people, but what did I give to myself today? What did I do? That act of service, that act of kindness, that nice thing that I did, what did I get out of it? And not out of it from someone else. So, um, what about someone you know even then? Well, if it's someone you know, that might be a little bit different. Like if I go help a neighbor and then I need help from that neighbor and they are capable of helping me in the way that I need, I might expect that they would help me, sure, as part of that social connection. Um, but what you're really looking for is that sense of, did I help somebody today? And that's all I need in myself. I love what you're doing here. Keep it up and your positivity. Awesome and fantastic part. Thank you so much, Ricky. I appreciate it. What about possibility in the hopes you can be reliable for them down the road and help them more? I mean, that is an expectation you can set because it's something that you can fulfill yourself. So that's it's a little bit different. If you look at everything from an internal perspective, kind of saying, okay, I'm not expecting anything from the outside looking in, but from the inside looking in, here's what I'm going to get out of this. Here's what I'm going to set myself up for so that I can take these things out of it. So that's one of those ways that you can foster a sense of connection with the community as a whole instead of individuals. And that really does help me feel like I've done something nice for the community, even if I never get to meet those people. Yeah, the positive takeaway is that little piece of, I did something good today, which hopefully makes y'all warm and fuzzy inside. Any suggestions for how to maintain the want to help even after you've continued to get nothing out of it for a prolonged period of time? I've helped someone, gratification is nice, but to a certain point of it not being reciprocated, how do you maintain? So it might be that they are taking advantage of you, and it depends on what you're helping them with. If this is something that you are in a connection with a taker, if you're a giver and the other person is purely a taker, then that might be something that you don't want to be a part of anymore. And that's one of those. And in your case, maybe you would ghost them. But you have to you have to find ways to connect with the community in general if that's something that you get a positive takeaway from. Fiona, are you leaving me? Are you for or against doing the right thing for the wrong reason? I I am for doing the right thing for the wrong reason anyway. Um, as long as that right thing has a positive impact on others. So if I can't think of a really good example. Um, but if you're like, oh, all right, so let's talk about the cowboy Santa thing. If I'm saying I'm only going to go and do this because my boss told me that I had to, and if I could do it, then I'm going to get the day off of work, which we do it on Saturday, so it's really not the case. But anyway, um, even if it's to get the day off at work, for even if it's for a selfish reason that you're going to do it, which kind of it is for a selfish reason. Like I wanted the good feeling of helping other people, and is that selfish? Yeah, sure is. Does it help somebody else? Yep, sure does. What you have to look at, to me, my personal opinion, is that if you're going to do the right thing for the wrong reason, make sure that you're not going to hurt someone else in the process. Like if you're doing the right thing for the wrong reason and the wrong reason is I don't want to go home to my spouse today, then probably that's not a good thing because there's something else there that needs to be worked out. If you're doing the right thing for the wrong reason and the wrong reason is I'm going to get the day off work, is there anyone who's going to be hurt by that unless you're a doctor or something like that? Probably not. And as long as your boss approved it, probably not. It's probably fine to do that. But there's definitely exceptions to every rule too. I mean, don't forget that. So, okay, a couple other things to foster an internal sense of connection. So, stress is linked to high self-focus, lower sense of connection. If you're happy from within, you're also more likely to feel connected. So that's that other thing. If you're trying to get something like if you're trying to get something like that good warm fuzzy feeling, um, then you can go and do something for the community to help you feel more happy within, make the world a happier, sunnier place. I help people because I like pretending to be a good person. And that's totally fine because who are you hurting? As long as you're not hurting yourself or others, I totally support doing the right thing for the wrong reason. But you got to really think about that hurt is not just physical, it's mental, it's emotional as well. So make sure that you're not hurting somebody else in any way. And then the last thing that they have on here for that internal sense of connection is that it can be nurtured and built through asking for help. And if you don't have somebody, hang on, where is that statistic? If you are one of the 25% of Americans who have no one to share a personal problem with, I would highly encourage you to go to your go to your church, go to your therapist office, go to your psychologist, go to your parents, go to your siblings, whatever it is, and find somebody that you can connect to because if you are not going to ask for help, it's going to be really, really difficult to move past that. Goku, thank you so much for that raid. I appreciate it. How are you doing? Oh, Warframe. Nice. Yancey's domain, right? Welcome to everybody who is here with Goku. I am MommaFoxFire. We are talking today about, oh my quote. So we are talking today about social connection. And we're kind of done looking at that one, so we'll come over to this. But we are talking about social connection and why it's good, what it is, why it's good for introverts as well as extroverts, and the basic things that we've covered so far are that if you feel like you're socially connected to someone, then you are. Social connection is not how many friends you have on Facebook. And the biggest things you can do to improve your social connection are to get connected with your community and talk to people. And by talk to people, I mean like share with people. If you can't do that in person, totally fine to do it online too. Online friends are totally friends, y'all. Ah, okay, so I think I have like one more. I think I have one more general thing. Oh, so I did want to bring this up. And Fiona, you pointed this out to me, but there's a lot of people who are really weirded out by forming online only friendships. And as someone who has several online only friendships, I'm totally fine with it. Um, but I do think that that's a little bit of a generational thing. I think that gamers in particular are more likely to consider those super valid, super real um, connections and see those for what they are, which is a social connection that is totally vital, important to your health. And so I like the way that you put it, Fee, when you said that we're just modern day instant pen pals. I think that is so perfect because I did have a pen pal when I was a kid. Um, actually, Laws, you might remember this. I had it was like a stamp collection pen pal kind of thing, and it was it was very uh, it was a little interesting. You had to send some different things, and then you got a letter back with something else, and then you sent something else with some more stuff, and it was it was pretty fun. I liked it. But it's yeah, no one says, "Aren't you worried your pen pal's gonna come find you?" But they have your address, like a legit pen pal. They have your physical address. They know where you live. Now, given that when I was a kid, none of that entered my head whatsoever. And when my kids meet someone online, I'm like, no names, no addresses, absolutely not. Um, no ages, those kinds of things, the basic safety things. Uh, but if you're a grown ass adult and you want to make a friend online, all right. So of the people in this in here right now, I think I've met one of you and I'm related to you. So clearly I've met my sister, right? Pen, like writing pen, PEN. Oh yeah, ASL. Oh God, I remember that. Age, sex, location? Yeah, no, absolutely not. I look back now and I'm like, how many of those were just creepers? Pen PayPal. Yes, we will. See, and I'll be at PAX South, so there's no telling how many people I'll get to meet, which is awesome because I do consider a lot of the people that I met through CCG and through the RuneScape clan and even through the server that my sister runs friends. You know what I mean? And just because I feel that social connection with those people doesn't necessarily mean that they feel it with me. But because I feel it with them, that is what makes that social connection so powerful. There's actually an entire TED talk on the power and science of social connection. If you're interested in that, let me know. I'll paste the link. Um, but it's really interesting, and I liked watching it. But yeah, I feel like Fee that is something that is a little bit generational, and I think it's more I think even there are some times where somebody my own age wouldn't understand me considering people online a friend just because of their hobbies. Their hobbies are different, those kinds of things. So, all right. So the next thing that I want to talk about, excuse me. Oh Lord, what is happening? Are y'all gonna send noodles back and forth? You probably will. The next thing that I want to talk about is social connection, and this is about in-person social connection. And my sister brought this one up. If y'all don't want me to tell people that you brought stuff up, you probably ought to put that on here. But one of the things is that as a society, particularly in America, I will say that because I'll relate some experiences that I had in other countries. But we are very against, not against, but very judgmental of physical contact between friends. Like if you see, even if it's me and my sister and we're walking down the street and we're holding hands or we've got our arms linked, because I am I'm a very touchy, like I'm a hugger. Okay, I hug people. It's what I do. I might link my arm in yours and walk with you or something. I was in a bar just recently at a work function. I was in a bar recently at a work function, and my this girl that I work with, I was going to say my friend because she's a friend. She was having a really hard time with something work related, and she got really upset. And I just reached over and I held her hand for a little bit, and I could see the guy sitting next to me kind of look over because I didn't say anything. I reached over and I was just holding her hand, you know, just kind of like holding it on top of it. I could see him looking at me, going, well, what's going on there? And I'm like, fuck off, you know, just, just come on, just mind your own business if you don't like it. But we have a really huge stigma that platonic activities between friends aren't okay in America. And obviously for me they are, but there is that. Um, However, so there have been studies, and I thought that I'm so glad, sis, that you brought this up because I was very interested in a couple of things. Um, there is a study on NBA teams, men's basketball, okay, that when they have a lot of physical touch between the teammates, ass slaps, fist bumps, high fives, what that thing where they jump and like bump each other's chests or whatever, hugs at the end of a game, whatever, that those teams are far better at cooperating and actually have a better chance to win the game purely based on how much they touch each other. Oh, Lord. Hey, Snow, how are you doing? Night Goku, see you later. 3:30 here. Oh, man. Mama, I don't want anyone to know I paid the bed when I was a little kid. I'm pretty sure everybody did. Don't tell a soul. You got it, rocker. Oh, Varys. I cooperate better when a guy slaps my ass. See, there you go. I got looks like that too when I was waiting in a doctor's office with my friend. She had the flu and was miserable, and I had my arm around her shoulder. See that, and that's what I mean. Like that stigma is just ridiculous. Um, so besides the study on men's basketball and showing that the simple act of physical touch is something that can help their chances at winning. there's a great quote in an essay for the Good Men Project. And this essay is called "The Lack of Gentle Platonic Touch in Men's Lives is a Killer." And I think that this quote is wonderful because it's one thing to like for me to hold my friend's hand in a bar. It's one thing for me to link arms with somebody when we're walking and talking. It's one thing for me to, lean closer to somebody when we're talking because we're having that intimate conversation. If it's a woman, it's another if it's two men. I feel like society is so judgmental about homosexuality that it's a huge stigma that men can't be touchy-feely. Um, and definitely not everybody is like that. Not everybody pays attention to that, both in their own interactions and when other people do it. So I'm not saying that everybody does that, but I'm saying that this is a very general statement that this is a bigger stigma for men than it is for women. But this quote by Mark Green talks about how isolated he was from others until he had a kid. So he says, how often do men actually get the opportunity to express affection through long-lasting platonic touch? How often does it happen between men or between men and women? Not a handshake or a hug, but lasting physical contact between two people that is comforting and personal but not sexual. Between persons who are not lovers and never will be, think holding hands or leaning on each other, sitting together, that sort of thing. Just the comfort of contact. Found this kind of physical affection when my son was born. As a stay-at-home dad, I spent years with my son day after day. He sat in the crook of my arm, his little arm across my shoulder, his hand on the back of my neck. And as he surveyed the world from on high, came to know a level of contentment and calm that had heretofore been missing in my life. And that to me is really eye-opening because I think about my kids and I have one who is not a toucher at all. Not because he's been told not to, but he's just not. I have another one who's fine with, hugs or sitting close or whatever. I have one who loves to cuddle. Like, we'll sit this close to you, um, and it's a lot of the time because we're in Texas and it gets hot here. I'm like, could you please scoot over some? And then I have my youngest who's just always hugs, kisses, I mean, runs around naked like nobody's watching, but that's a whole other thing. Very, very touchy-feely, very touch-oriented, um, and very like if he's got a strong emotion and he's expressing that emotion, you can bet that in some way, shape, or form he's going to express it in touch. And I'm so scared that he's going to lose that. Um, and I hope that he doesn't. And I'll tell you a couple of different things. Before I got married, I was the kind of person that had a lot of female friends. When we'd hang out, I would lay my head in their lap or lean up against them and nothing was going on, but I just loved the physical contact. Yeah, yeah. In my opinion, men hella get the short end of the stick for not being allowed to be close to each other. Yes, absolutely. It's ridiculous. Night Rocker, see ya. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was different with my male friends, but still was probably closer than people would be comfortable with. Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand. And it hasn't always been that way. If you look up old photos of and I'm talking like old, old black and white photos, you'll see pictures of guys with their arms around each other, guys sitting in each other's laps, just laughing, somebody's arm, just you can tell they're just hanging out, and it was no big deal, and I don't know what changed, and I wish that I couldn't find like a single thing that made it change. Um, but I think some of it might be because there's such a stigma on the friend zone also because everyone talks about, oh, I've been friend zoned. Like it's this terrible thing. It's this terrible place. It's a wasteland. Not because it means sex is off limits, but because friendship and non-sexual affection, it's like people just think that it's irrelevant. And I don't understand how anyone can think that it's irrelevant. You're supposed to rely on one person for the rest of your life for that kind of affection. That's not fair to anybody. I mean, what if that person's having a bad day or whatever? And then there's the other part of it where especially women might be trying to not send the wrong signals, but we only think of those as the wrong signals because now they're so charged that it's like you can't do this kind of thing without it seeming to everyone else that it is an advance. To the point where pickup artists will teach their students, and it's true that taking someone's hand or touching their shoulder or moving into one-on-one conversations indicates interest, and that it's a signal for them, the people trying to pick somebody up, to keep escalating in hopes that it will transition to a hookup, which is horrible because if affection is seen as foreplay, then a person who isn't having any luck approaching people romantically, that means that they're totally cut off from a normal human comfort of touch. If you can't just go into somewhere and touch somebody's arm without it being seen as an advance, then you're really screwed if you don't have somebody that you can be that close to. And it's that isolation is just so terrible. Okay, so I have a couple of things, but hang on. It was different with my male friends. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, my male friends would stay over when I was younger. We would sleep in the same bed, no big deal. But now someone sleeps on the floor. Yeah, and it's if I went over to my bestie's house and her husband was out of town for whatever reason, like I'm not gonna sleep in the bed with both of them. Okay, that's just a little weird. But if he was out of town or if she came over here and my husband was out of town, we probably still would just sleep in the same bed. No big deal. Whatever. But if my husband has one of his guy friends over, that's not going to happen. It's just, and even if I'm out of town, that's just not how he thinks. It's not how what he feels like is acceptable. So affection is seen as foreplay. It is. It is. I honestly, truly believe that affection is mistaken, and it's not. So it's not that it is. It is mistaken for foreplay a lot of the time, and as a signal to proceed, and it really should not be. Um, So a couple of stories for you to show that this is not a worldwide phenomenon. I went to Australia and I was there for 3 months, and uh, went out with the ladies from work all the time to lunch and those kinds of things, and they would they would link arms whenever they were walking to the restaurant. They would get there and, one of them would just lean her head on the other one, or there was none of this, oh well, you stay in your space and I'll stay in mine and we're just going to all stay in our own spaces. It was the only thing that I can compare it to is my kids. It was very much like my kids, just that innocence of, of course I can hold your hand, you know, no big deal. Of course I can give you a kiss on the cheek, no big deal. I mean, even a kiss on the lips, it just wasn't a big deal. And so then when I went to Korea just recently, I was there for a month, South Korea, and even there, the tour guide would take you by the arm, and while she's talking to you about all of the things that you're looking at, she's very close, shoulder to shoulder. She's got your arm in her arm. She's leaning close so that you can hear her, not because there's a lot of people around you or it's very loud, but because she's trying to convey something to you and only you, and so she's getting right up near you. And it didn't I didn't mind it, but I could tell that my coworker that I was with, who's also doing the tour with me, it made her very uncomfortable, to the point where she would walk separately, either ahead or behind. So, but I'm like, you look around in other countries, and not every other country is better than we are at that, but it's true. It's not always that way. I had quite an amount of friends who liked to hug me in high school and hug them back. The mostly it was girls, yeah, especially being gay. It's hard to give a guy a platonic high five even, but maybe that was just in high school. I'm not gonna sleep with both of them because that's a little weird. I slept in the same bed as one of my guy friends without it being weird. See? And I mean, things like that, I think you have to have boundaries at some point, especially after you get married. Maybe you don't sleep in the same bed as a guy friend, but sleeping in the same bed as a girlfriend, that's no big deal. My son used to be a snuggle monster, and I'll say that every relationship is different, and if you and your spouse are fine with anything, then okay. But now he has some friends, and that seems to be going away. Yeah, and that's, my 16-year-old definitely is not. He hasn't been touchy feely to the extent that my daughter is, um, ever, ever, or my youngest. And then the other son, the 11-year-old, he's the least touchy feely of all of them. But definitely as he started hanging out with some of his friends outside of school, I think that his level of perceived desire for affection decreased tremendously. And it's not that he didn't need that affection still, that physical touch, but I think that he was kind of convinced that he didn't want to say that he did. So this is kind of making me want to move to another country where people are more platonically close to my kid or kids, all right? Have more opportunity to hold on to that as they grow. Well, I mean, there's lots of other countries. I've always said that I would love to move to another country, not to stay forever, but just to give my kids that exposure to another culture. Uh, Now I'm really salty at America for affection not being an okay thing. So I'll try to find some of the pictures that I came across earlier. Let me see. Um, there was a very big there was a good group of pictures. I wish I had saved the link because I don't think that I did. Platonic affection, yeah, yeah, yeah. I knew what you meant. Okay, all right. So that was my second go at Mental Health Monday. So I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, if you loved it, if you hated it, let me know so that I can either do or not do the same things because I do all this based on feedback from you guys. So let me know.